Welcome to Cohesive Home Podcast Episode 9. Food is something we all need on a daily basis, but trying to eat healthy while feeding a family can be stressful at times. If you've ever desired to simplify your family's eating and actually enjoy the ritual of mealtime again, you'll love today's podcast.
Cohesive Home is a podcast for families seeking a more intentional life. Looking for inspiration to create your ideal family culture and home? Kate and Melissa, two best friends and laid-back minimalists from opposite ends of the country, chat about all things parenthood, living simply, and crafting a happier home.
So before we start this topic today, we have to give you a little disclaimer. It's probably a bit obvious, but just in case it needs saying, Melissa and I are not nutritionists or doctors. We just love food, and sometimes we talk a little too much about nutrition to each other, but we are in no way trained.
No, we are not.
If you need advice, there are some absolutely lovely nutritionists in the Cohesive Home community, and we would be happy to connect you with them via Instagram. We are just not them. So, Melissa, I know that this topic has been pretty close to your heart recently because you have been on a bit of a food journey yourself these past few months. I know you've been pretty good about what you eat pretty much as long as I've known you, but you've been dealing with some health issues lately that have fundamentally changed the way you feed yourself.
Yes, actually, it's been a while that I've been dealing with a bunch of different food allergies and just digestive issues. It kind of started when I was in college. I got my gallbladder out, and then I had 3 babies in 3 years. And then after that, I found out, and then I found out I needed to go gluten-free, which that was, man, I miss beer. But anyway, went gluten-free. And then after that, I just started really diving into the different types of diets, traditional like Weston A. Price, finding out about that. Then there's paleo and just all those real food, because I think we can all agree that no matter what diet you subscribe to, it's about real food. I mean, really, it's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
So I was just trying to find what worked for me. And then so recently I tried the GAPS diet, and it was okay for the first month or so. And then I just started feeling awful. And I've just realized that along with my body feeling awful, my brain was like going crazy because I just kept researching and Googling and researching. And I Googled so much that I went cross-eyed. And so all of this information that there's some very, very good, solid, good information on the internet. However, I was finding so much of it, and I was becoming overwhelmed and basically just made myself go a little crazy. Kate,
I think we've talked about food on the phone almost every day for the last month or two.
Yes.
And I'm sure some of you listening can relate to what Melissa's going through. Either you've had health issues yourself, or maybe your kids, or you read a book or watched a movie about food and it inspired you to change things. I think we all go through that at some point. And so it's just a matter of finding what works for your family and not being susceptible to well-meaning people's advice online that will tell you that this specific diet is the only way to live.
That's, I think, what we've been talking about on the phone so much is really listening to your body, listening to your family's bodies, and doing what's right for you. There is no one diet that is right for everyone. And I don't know, what is it? You had told me earlier what Michael Pollan, his quote, what was that?
Oh, just to eat food, not too much, and mostly plants. And I've really started to subscribe to that. Melissa knows, and my family and I have bounced all over. I also had a history of health problems, and I found great success with the paleo diet, but then in the last year or so, it hasn't been working so well for me. And so I'm fine tuning and I'm focusing on just eating lots of vegetables. And I feel like with that as my baseline, I'm doing well, my kids are doing well, and it's a good place to start.
Yeah. And back to that whole, just real food, right? Well, and then there was another quote. He says, "Don't eat anything your great grandmother wouldn't recognize as food." Like, that's kind of just good for anyone, I think.
Maybe not the Pop-Tarts.
Exactly. It's like, what's that square thing? So another thing about Michael Pollan, not to preach about him, but he has this awesome Netflix series. It's a 4-part series. It's called Cooked. And Kate, I know you watched it after I told you to watch it. It's so
yes,
good.
I've watched a few.
It's so good. So if you're
you're
a foodie, even if you're not, watch it. It's so great. It's just a good reminder, I think, for all of us. So
yes, and I think also there's so much negativity around food. And so many things that you should not be doing. Whereas if you watch something like Cooked, or, you maybe read some of his books, you'll realize that food is a positive experience. At least it should be. Like, we should enjoy what we're eating. Mealtime should be a joy, not a burden.
And I think that focusing on the foods that you can eat and the foods that do make you just feel good, I think that's the one thing that you should definitely adhere to.
Yes.
Everyone should adhere to just listening to your body and eating what makes you feel good.
And sometimes mealtime can be stressful. We know with little kids, I have, a 2 and a 5-year-old, mealtime can be hard. It is hard to find things to cook that everyone loves, everyone's happy with. And there's so many guides online for how to not have picky eaters, or, how to make sure your kids eat lots of vegetables. We're not going to tell you that today.
But what we are going to share with you is a few tips on how to bring rituals into your family's life centered around your table. Because when you do those sort of things and you create this positive environment around your food, and not like before we were saying, not the negative aspects of food, I think are what you shouldn't be doing. You create this joy around your table through rituals.
Yes.
I think it benefits everyone. So, Kate, what's something that we can do to bring that into our family's life?
Okay, well, so we're getting into farmers market season here where I live. Yay. And so
you got to stop telling me every time you come home from the farmers market, you're like, "Oh, the radishes." I'm like, stop.
It's really bad though, because I could blow my whole grocery budget at the farmers market, and that's just the food stands. That's not including the actual, fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
It's so good. But okay, so your farmer's market, if you have one, and I truly hope that you do, that's a great place to start. Going shopping with your kids, just looking at the fresh vegetables, finding things that look good, letting your kids help you pick them out. We want to encourage you to shop locally as much as possible and eat seasonally.
Yes. And so by eating seasonally, it allows you to keep your menu a bit more simple. And that is one thing that I feel like I say this way too much, but when I was in France.
You do. You say it too much.
I do. Like, that one time when I was in France. God,
own it.
Sorry. Everyone's probably so annoyed at me at this point. But it does. I loved how simple the meals were. They were so simple and colorful and flavorful. And yet oh my gosh, I would stress out because our friends, they would not know what they were going to make for dinner. And it would be, I don't know, like 5:00. And I'm over there in the kitchen going, okay, so what are we going to eat, guys? What are we going to eat? You haven't told me at all what's for dinner. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'll throw in some rice and some vegetables. We have some leftover fish and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's a meal. Okay. And a salad. Okay, great. Great. And so it allowed me to see that the simplicity of a meal is freeing in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, absolutely. And when you take that pressure off of yourself and say you find some beautiful vegetable to make the showcase of your meal, when it's that fresh, it doesn't need a lot of extras. You can enjoy it as it is.
That is a good point.
Right.
Yep.
Well, so you were talking about, Melissa, keeping your meals simple. And, another way that we recommend keeping mealtime easy, especially if you have little kids, is to think about having the same meals on the same day each week, or you could call it a themed meal. And that's simply to make your planning easier.
Yes. Like, I don't know, Wacky Wednesday, meat or meatless Monday, or I liked this when you said Farmers Market Saturday.
Yes,
so
that's our new one.
What you want. That's so cool. I loved that. Yeah. What was we do like Fish Friday. We do Taco Tuesday.
Right.
I could give you a bunch of ideas.
But here's the thing is that when you're in a season of your life, when you have small kids, or even if you don't have small kids, give yourself some grace to keep it simple. Mm-hmm. And then you'll enjoy your meals more.
Yeah, and they're going to be happy. I mean, you give them some food. I hope they're happy. I mean, sometimes they're not, and then I say, eat it.
Yes.
Eat your food.
Oh, Melissa, yeah, we had that actually happen tonight. My oldest daughter refused to eat dinner. She's 5. And so we said, okay, well, you're going to be hungry later. And we went to the pool. Sorry not to rub that one in, but we went to the pool. And we got home, and she said, I'm hungry. And we said, well, you didn't eat dinner. So I think my husband relented and gave her a snack.
Oh, I know. I always do.
You feel so bad. You don't want to send him to bed hungry.
I know it's hard. Well, so what's something else that we can do to create rituals around our table? Let's see.
Melissa, something that we actually talked about in one of our earlier podcasts, I had this grand idea of doing a special meal on Friday nights. Do you remember that? About, pulling out the candles and the tablecloth. Meal. Right. Okay, so maybe not once a week, but what if you and your family planned a special meal once a month and made it like your own family's holiday? It doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's a great idea. Especially with, say like dads that work late. I know that's one thing that we're having to get used to is that Brandon works a bit later now. And so he's not home like he was when he was a teacher. He's not home, say at 4:00 and helping with meal prep or even cooking the entire meal. Now I'm making the meal and he'll come home and eat. So it would be great to incorporate dad.
Oh yeah.
Maybe like on a Sunday or a Saturday. That would be great. But you said even we talked earlier, you said to invite people over and make it, like you said, a holiday.
Yes, a celebration. Just
cool.
And really just, we're not talking about like a big holiday, but celebrating community, celebrating good food, and enjoying.
I'm getting hungry.
I'm sorry. Well, it's 9:00 at night, Melissa.
We are recording this at 9:00, and I am hungry again because we're talking about food. Ooh. Side note.
Yes.
Can I just tell you something?
Please.
So in another podcast, I had talked about the sourdough starter that I got. Well, we tried the sourdough and I still had a reaction to it. So I did research. I Googled some more.
You did?
More research. And I found out that you can actually do gluten-free sourdough.
Really?
So, yes. And it's,
Whoa.
oh my gosh. And I've made a couple loaves, but tonight the loaf was awesome. And it's like a normal sourdough loaf. Even my oldest daughter, she goes, "This tastes just like the other one."
Oh, that is
Which
amazing.
She meant like the original one.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was
I'm
a
so
little
happy
side
for you.
note.
No, but you know what though? It is having a ritual like that around a simple food. So, if you have a sourdough, feeding it daily,
Yeah.
pulling the steaming hot bread out of the oven in the morning, right? And having it for breakfast. I mean, those
Yeah.
are the kind of simple rituals that we want to encourage you to incorporate into your home to make food positive and enjoyable.
Yes, exactly. So that's basically our last point with all of this would be to have a positive attitude and environment, and just overall a positive communication to your kids and even your husband about food, to just help cultivate that love of food, good food. No shameful talking about food, but just lots of love for the good stuff.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, we're feeding our families, we're building community around our table, and really, that's all that matters. We don't want to be splitting hairs here about the nuances of one diet over another. We want our kids to
Right.
remember that they ate well and that mealtime was a joy.
Okay, friends, we were so excited to chat about this topic, and we really hope that you enjoyed it too. Let us know on Instagram or on our website, cohesivehome.com, what you thought of this podcast, or just leave us a review on iTunes. We absolutely love it when you do. And if you have topics you want us to chat about, just send us a message through cohesivehome.com. We're always just so excited to hear from you guys, and we would love to know what you want us to talk about.
Bottom line today, friends, it is not too late to love food again and create family traditions around eating healthy. Find ways to simplify your kitchen and meal planning to create kids who love good food and great company. Thanks for listening to Cohesive Home Podcast, Episode 9. We'll see you next time.